Hey RATBAGGERS, it's Jade with the Valheim news you've been waiting for. The Bog Witch update is on its way and it's a lot bigger than we anticipated. Although not a major update like either Mistlands or Ashlands, and certainly not like we're going to expect with 1.0 and the Deep North, it is still nevertheless a good little mini update, adding a lot of features that players have been wanting. This small tease was shown off at the Coffee Stain, conference where they had a whole bunch of the Coffee Stain studios that they help games with publishing and more. And obviously Irongate was there with Jonathan and Josephine. Jonathan's one of the lead engineers and programmers, and Josephine is the community manager. I live streamed this as I did an interview with Ember, so you should go and watch the full live stream to hear and see how she makes great Valheim content. But we was also then joined by Grimcore, aka the lead coffee boy at Irongate. Jokes aside, if you've been here on my channel a while, you know that me and Grim and some of the other Valheim devs are friendly, and so they've joined a bunch of times. And Grim came and just reacted to a Valheim stream. The Valheim dev reacts to a Valheim stream. So we did hear some great stuff from Josephine and Jonathan, but also a little bit more explanation about what this update is actually going to contain.
What I saw was a teaser trailer for our Bog Witch update, which is something that's coming fairly soon. Yeah. And there is a longer version of that trailer, but you'll have to wait until it hits the public test branch before you get to see that.
So yep, it will be a PTB that will be available usually on the Xbox Insider program, as well as obviously Steam betas for you to go and check out. No actual definitive release date has been given other than in the next few weeks, but I'd be very surprised if it doesn't actually arrive in the month of October.
Yeah, so I mean, while we're working on Deep North, which is what everybody wants, obviously, it's in pre-production. So we've also been working on this smaller update, which is going to come, like we said, within a few weeks, I think. Without setting an exact, like whenever we feel it's ready, it's going to be out on the public test branch. And it's going to be like a smaller update that has things that I think a lot of people are going to appreciate, though.
It is going to feature the Bog Witch, the eponymous. She is a trader, and you can buy some stuff from her, which will let you do more things, including make feasts. Yeah, so feasts are like food level 2, kind of like you can combine lots of different stuff and make it look a lot nicer. You can place foods on the tables directly. You don't need to use these item stands for everything anymore. And the feasts are so much better. You can and then you can put up the feasts, which are huge, and they can be eaten multiple times by and they last longer too.
And they last much longer. Yeah. So the stats are a little bit different, but I think people appreciate that you can be out on adventure a lot longer with them. So
that is interesting.
Yeah, and you can also make potions from the ingredients that she sells.
Yeah, a lot of new potions. Some of them more special than others. Like might be a love potion in there for those who are interested. I'm not going to spoil more than that, but
that's for discovery.
Yeah.
So Grim actually elaborated a little bit more on the feast stuff that's coming into the game later on after Josephine and Jonathan had spoken to me in my stream.
I think like me and Andreas, aka Luma, we've been talking about feasts for such a long time, where I've always wanted to have, I want to have a big roasted boar. How do I get there? And what does it do? But then when we were talking, we were like, it would actually work if we combine different biome foods into something, and you have like some kind of tool that can deliver this in some way, and that you can just place food wherever you want.
So no more stands required. You will be able to place new food, part of this feast, on tables just laid out for people to come and enjoy.
Basically eat it from where it stands. So you can put it on the ground, and then when you try to pick up the mushroom, you just eat it. There was this notion that where when you play Valheim a lot, you end up having all these extra foods or materials to different foods where you like, I don't eat this anymore. And we're like, can we reuse that somehow? Can we use that in the feasts? And it just made sense, like, okay, like use these foods that you're not using anymore, and maybe you can start using them again or eating them again. Feasts should feel like they're a big thing. They should give a decent amount of buff when you eat it. But I also think it comes down to presentation. So when you have served your big your big first meadows feast, which is a big roasted boar with lots of meadows stuff. It's a stack of a certain size, and as you can eat directly from the boar, stuff your face, and as you eat the boar, yeah, stuff happens.
So it sounds like the feast will combine any leftover foods that you've made to really give yourself some more unique buffs, or at least better buffs, but not completely replacing your food. And alongside that, maybe even more exciting, is proper skills.
I think one of the big things in this update is we're adding a few skills to the game,
Yes.
which have been like asked from the community for forever, for farming and cooking and crafting, or building basically, which yeah, I mean, there's a lot of players who do not, or not always out in combat, doing all the different weapons and stuff. They're staying home in the base, and they want to get some sort of an edge on, like, they've been farming forever, so they want to have a skill for that. So that's something that we've been thinking about for a long time, not quite figuring out how we can implement that in a good way, but I think we found something that we're quite happy with.
Snot here is the community manager for Satisfactory. He asked what the Bog Witch is inspired by. Josephine was coy, said it's based on a creature in the game already. Grim did tell us the answer, so close your ears for about 10 seconds now. But it is going to be a Grey Dwarf. So not another Diverger, it will be a Grey Dwarf, a friendly one, a witch inside the bog.
There's some quality of life stuff basically coming in. We split up, like we added a prep table, so there's not as many recipes in the cauldron. There's also going to be like for another crafting station for all the meads, and also like you can craft multiple things at a time, which I know has been a huge feature request many times. And also we have one new item, which is the Scythe, which is that you can farm multiple items at a time, so you don't have to click every single one.
Which is highly requested.
Highly requested. And, yeah, so this is more like a small update. Obviously, there's going to be people who will be like, oh, Deep North won, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of other players will appreciate what's in it.
Yeah.
And we should also just say that this hasn't taken that much time away from the Deep North development. This is, I wouldn't say in any percentage, but heavily like a graphic-based update. It's basically a lot of visual assets with a bit of programming behind it to create this update.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you can't have the entire team just jump over straight. We need to go through pre-production, plan out a lot of stuff, and do a lot of tests. So this is basically something. Give the players some content that a lot of people have been wanting for a long time, and so that some of the developers have something to do while waiting for Deep North stuff.
So a lot to take in there, but skills, more skills coming, like farming, like being able to have your skills for cooking, as well as potentially building, if I heard right from Jonathan. Whether that's going to be part of crafting or crafting skills going to be a separate one, I'm not too sure. And the big news, a new tool, the Scythe, which Robin Grimcourt had some thoughts on too.
So a Scythe is something we wanted to put in a long time ago. We saw that a lot of modders were making mods of harvesting easier. But we didn't feel it was the right time, and we didn't. Okay, so one thing, when you start making it easier to pick up lots of things, in my mind as a designer, you start dumbing down the game a little bit, or to a certain extent. And if one thing starts doing this, then you want the next thing to start doing something similar. So it's a slippery slope where you go from something that we intended use was it has to take time. It's supposed to take time. Where when you start speeding that up, then you want that everywhere, and you have to be a little bit careful with that. Was called October Feast at one point.
But you realising it might not be October by the time it comes out?
No.
Oh.
Okay, so, I started planning. We have plans for future stuff as well. So it was always planned to get released in October, sometime October at least.
Right, okay.
So we have gotten better at planning. And now that we are marching towards a 1.0 in the future, I think it's important to have more plans and start to decide what needs to be in a 1.0 and what needs to be in a 1.1.
Ooh, a 1.1.
1.1.
Just to clarify, this doesn't mean that Valheim is absolutely guaranteeing right here, right now, that it's going to receive content past 1.0. As Grim kind of clears up a little bit more, there's just meaning that some content should absolutely be there for its 1.0 release, and some content, if it arrives later, kind of maybe would not be as great. It would maybe ruin it a little bit if it didn't make it in for 1.0. Equally, some content shouldn't be rushed or crammed in just because it is the 1.0 update too. That's the kind of sense I got from Grim. To be clear.
I think what's important is that everything that comes out in a 1.0 has to feel like a 1.0, and
Yes.
and certain things might not make sense in a 1.0, which would need
Another update.
and also like motivate a 1.1 as well.
You're not going to desperately try and cram everything everyone has ever wanted before 1.0.
I don't see the point in that, to be honest, because that would only just prolong.
Make it longer.
And we will have to see how it goes as well. If we find specific holes that need to be filled, I think we will go and fill them in. Give a big 1.0 package a big send-off rather than taking things away from that package and putting in small updates.
Right, okay.
Since it's not really a live
service
game, then yeah, that's what I would do. But I understand that we do have a massive community that wants stuff as well. So we will have to sprinkle it out, and it's mostly for the love of the community that we will do that. And like the Bog Witch was an update that we could have just put that into the Deep North 1.0 update.
Yeah,
Absolutely. But
Still,
I
it
mean,
gives-
if we can sprinkle some things, I think that's good enough. But what we tend to think about a lot is what is the best for Valheim and everything that goes into Valheim.
yeah.
So sometimes it's not for the community, and it's for Valheim itself.
It might need testing. It might need functionality. You might want to see how the wider community feels about it before you label it as like 1.0.
Still just want to take our time and make a good quality product and make Valheim as good as it can be for a 1.0.
Like I said, Grim joined me as we were watching this and then spoke afterwards. That's why he expanded a lot more on the 1.0 stuff. Jonathan and Josephine did speak about what 1.0 might expect and why we might necessarily get too many visuals so soon. And get ready for it to look like a Christmas paradise.
I think makes
Deep North.
1.0.
1.0.
Deep North.
Yeah.
Exciting times.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's really exciting. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been the whole journey from early access and finally going to go to 1.0. And I know everybody's are like, oh, it's never going to happen. They're taking all their time, but it's been a fairly clear development cycle where we have like the big 3 biomes that we're going to finish. So Deep North is going to be 1.0, obviously, and there's also going to be a whole lot of like a lot of other stuff that we're going to try to get in there. So besides the actual biome, there's definitely a lot of other stuff that we're working on. That's going to try to get that in there too.
Yeah. And you sort of learned from your previous biomes like how to make this one, or you look like a, I don't know if you did.
I mean,
but-
it's always that kind
Yeah.
of the design philosophy that we kind of have. What would Black Forest do that we've been going for? So it's now it's doing that again, but make it Deep Northy.
I know that a lot of people have different thoughts about Ashlands, and we're actually going to talk more about Ashlands later, I think.
Yep.
But for Deep North, we're going for a little bit different, tone it down a little bit, try to make it nice and cozy again. One of the things that we had is the idea of making a Christmas card.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to be difficult. Don't get us wrong there. There's going to be hard parts, but it's probably a little bit more laid back, so you can relax a little bit more in the game.
A final breather before the very end of the game.
Yeah, you could say that. So,
But
yeah, I mean,
It's still an endgame biome very much. So.
Yeah. Yeah. There will be a lot of difficult monsters and boss definitely for that. So.
Nice.
Hopefully it will feel like a 1.0, like not just like, oh, another biome, and by the way, it's also done. We do have some cool things that we're going to try to get in there. We're going to look through the rest of the game for a bit. Not change too much because it's definitely a working recipe, but try to add a little bit of spice here and there for the rest of the game as well.
Yeah.
So,
And that's also why we haven't shared anything like publicly, like any visuals from the Deep North yet, because it is very much pre-production, and we don't want we don't want to show something that would end up not getting into the game, since it's very much still in the design phase.
Yeah.
But soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's also other things like something that a lot of people ask for, like achievements and possibly mod support and things like that go into, that are like kind of meta game parts of it. But
some parts of the Deep North will feel kind of like a Christmas card. Like you can already see now, like in the placeholder that you can see on the B-roll now, it is kind of trees and snow and kind of a calm landscape. And this is still from the Deep North that you can see as a placeholder in the game right now, but it's still gonna have some of that feeling, if a lot more fleshed out.
yeah, and I think one of the things on difficulty there I was thinking about before was like having a bit of an asymmetrical difficulty curve, so the game is not just constantly becoming harder and more grindier in every single biome, where of course the step from, let's say, Mistlands to Ashlands is definitely a step up in difficulty, and you, as a lot of people have noticed, you get swarmed a lot by enemies, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be like another step up from that.
So achievements check, and some way to make mods easier. Not guaranteeing that it will be part of Steam Workshop, but certainly supported better in the future.
There are like hopes, I think, of having something new for most biomes. Like maybe nothing major, but at least something everywhere, so that there will be a value in replaying the game from the start, and not just going into play Deep North, but to actually start the game over from like the very beginning. Since it's going to be the 1.0 game, that's going to be like a whole new experience, hopefully.
So that kind of makes sense, and it's kind of what I've been expecting or talking to you guys about in previous Valheim videos. The sense I've always got is that they will sprinkle stuff in, even if Grim doesn't want to reveal too much. Obviously the big stuff will be saved for 1.0, and that means taking a look at some of the biomes. I know a lot are still spoken about improving the oceans and making it a bit more interesting traveling between, and maybe more improvements to ships and stuff. So that might be this kind of stuff we see before 1.0 in another small update perhaps. Grim did mention that they're looking at a fun thing that you can do with the snow, maybe in the Deep North. Wouldn't allude to it much more than that, but who knows? It could be anything from sledding to building a snowman to maybe throwing snowballs at each other. As always, anything you hear while devs talk to me on my streams should be taken as not always 100% gospel. It's just a casual chat, but things that we see properly, obviously on the Coffee Stain and the YouTube channels for Valheim and stuff, then that is definitely going to be more official. As always, big shout out to Grim for joining me. It's always a privilege to have developers give me some of their time, especially in their own time. And it was really good to see Jonathan and Josephine in front of camera doing something pretty official. As said, I will leave a link to my stream so you go and check out the full interview with Ember and more from Robin, talking about other aspects of the game and more. And I will also, of course, leave a link to the stream that Coffee Stain did as well, if you want to hear more directly from Jonathan and obviously Josephine, but I feel like I lifted the most relevant parts. So big stuff, obviously no release date. Don't expect 1.0 anytime soon. This smaller update, the Bog Witch update, looks to be coming out hopefully before the end of October. And it sounds pretty cool with the skills, with the new potions, with obviously the new feasting, new Scythe, and helpful in farming. It definitely looks like something I'm going to get my teeth into. So can't wait, I'm going to start with a fresh play very soon of Valheim. Until next time, Ratbags, I'll catch you later.